Okay, hello. Welcome to episode 4 of Tom's Brain Dumps. A very exciting episode that I've been meaning to record for quite a while now, actually, since a lot has happened. So I rewatched the last recording, or re-listened even, and realized that it's been just over a month since my last one, which is a fairly solid amount of time considering all the things I said were going to happen in the last episode, have happened. I'm in, I'm in my dad's house. I've moved out in, um, and with that, like I said, it would be challenging, and it is in its own way. And I'm glad that I was aware of that because it means that I was prepared. And thankfully, with that preparation, I was able to utilize those challenges and take advantage of the state of mind that it would put me in to take advantage of that and kind of shoehorn myself into this new productive mindset where, yeah, it's a fresh start. You talk about it for so long, you think about it, and then as soon as it actually happens, I do get quite paralyzed with worry and planning and inaction. But it was really really productive to be able to just start fresh, which has happened. So let me go into detail here. Um, what it's been So I think about a week after I recorded the last one, I moved into my dad's place, and obviously, like I said before, I did have to sacrifice a lot of my independencies, like my ability to do whatever I wanted in my house and stuff. Like there are quote rules to follow or whatever, but like you know, I'm okay with that. And knowing that, because I've done this before, I've moved back into my dad's. This is the second time, so I know what to expect, and I know how my family is and how the house works and everything. And to be reintroduced with everything that I've learnt in the past year, that's such a valuable perspective. The challenges that come with this. Me and my dad, we have different values and different perspectives that I'm quite aware of. And when you're when I put myself in an environment where my ideas are challenged and my ideas are my feelings are challenged, to put it basically, um, you kind of have to look, like, for me at least, I kind of just turn within myself, kind of retreat, take stock, and just get a bit more introspective. And there are things going on in my life, as you might know from the other recordings I made about like people betraying me and people doing things that me. I mean, basically, I just felt unappreciated. Being here and being so isolated in myself and looking within gives me being in that frame of mind and then reevaluating everything else that's going on. It's really been productive, and then I've realized all these different things and all these reasons for the way I feel and stuff. And uh, with that came this weird sense of clarity about what I should be doing then. So now, with all the things that were going in terms of like betrayal and all that crap, kind of just realize like the people that keep doing that, I keep giving them second chances, and it's like, well, stop doing that. And I'm like, okay, cool, stop doing that. Um, the point that I made of not being able to trust anyone, or what's the point of trusting anyone because no one's ever guaranteed to be fully concerned with your issues or whatever. I've kind of expanded on that a little in my own mind and realized that yes, that is unhealthy. I mean, I was aware of that at the time. Like even just you know consider put a good analogy. The analogy I use is that it was like a wall that I put up around myself to stop myself from getting hurt. A lot of people can relate to that. and um, I've kind of I don't like this angle. It's too low. Jesus, there we go. Fuck, it's cool. Well, now it ducked down. Sick. So where was I? Yeah, so I think that issue I had where um, I put these walls up around myself because people kept fucking me over, and it's just person after person, different group, no relation to each other. So the way I saw it was, this is just people. People just fuck you over because they're all self-interested, and it's all about me. You don't really consider anyone else's concerns, and I work in customer service, so I see people like that all the time. People have this sense of entitlement with when you work in a job like that. You see people and they just come through. You say, "Hey, how are you?" and they just stare deep into your soul, and they don't respond. They keep looking, and then you're like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll just go fuck myself." Nice. And that's day in day out, and you kind of just get this idea of like, oh, people aren't worth my time, man. This is a horrible. You get very disillusioned, which is how I was, and it took a certain experience for me to realize that that's not necessarily true, but also, it's very easy to put up walls when you believe it's a universal rule that people suck. But what I needed to see was what the alternative could be, and in essence it seems so simple. Oh yeah, there are nice people out there, just realize that. And it's like, well, not in my experience, unfortunately. It's very rare for me to come across that. But when I was thinking about all my relationships and stuff, I was thinking about who are the people in my life that are genuinely nice to me, or I feel genuinely care for me, or blah blah blah. And it was a very small handful, but like, they're there. And sometimes in comparison, it doesn't feel like quite enough, as hard as that, as brutal as that is to say. But there was a certain experience that led to me kind of realizing the alternative, and it was like a demonstration of what exists beyond the wall. To It reminds me of the Pink Floyd album, which is quite poignant. But basically, I was sitting here in this room, and I have a games console still. I haven't got rid of it yet, and I know I said I would, and I haven't. It's quite frustrating, but I'll get into that. Um, and there was this game that I have an Xbox, and if anyone uses Xbox, you might be aware of the fact that every month they give away free games. And there's this game going called Coffee Talk, which I'm not really one to play games outside of my wheelhouse, but I saw it and I was like, you know what, fuck it. So I downloaded it, started playing it, and basically it's like this, basically a barista simulator where your character owns a coffee shop that only opens after midnight in this fantasy world where you've got elves and dwarves and all this shit, vampires, werewolves, and you're in a coffee shop and you have your regulars and they come in and they talk to you and you have conversations, you learn their stories, and you make their drinks. And as the days go by, you meet more people and you see their issues and their like personalities and stuff, and you're kind of like this bystander in these people's lives. And as days go by, you see people like fall in love, they break up, they have all these issues and stuff, and you offer them drinks, and they keep going, and eventually it gets to the point where the drinks you offer, kind of impact their stories. I don't know, this isn't quite my usual content where I review a game, but I've got a point. And as it keeps going, you offer the drink, you make the drink, and decide what would be best for them in that situation, and their stories unravel, and then depending on what you made, their stories change. And for me, I don't really play those kind of like story based like very narrative games, but it, to see what it was like to just live without that wall, to like, as much as it's like a fantasy game, whatever, but for me it showed me like, if I were to live without hiding myself behind this sense of shame, oh, no one wants to know me, I'm not worth investing my personality or my time into other people because I'll get shit. If I were to live without that, this game demonstrated what the potentiality was, what the possibilities were to me. Where just even if it's just a coffee shop, you go there, you have regulars, you have a conversation. Next thing you know, they're changing each other's lives, and it's like, oh, kind of demonstrated what the need is for that, and how even unconsciously the people around you do affect how you live. And I guess for me at that point in time, I was kind of restricting myself from that. I was gonna I was purging all of my social media. I posted on Facebook saying I was deleting my account, like, and just removing myself from the social world, because to me it just wasn't worth my time. There's nothing I could gain from it, but that game showed me what could be gained if I were to realize that there was a world beyond this wall that I made from all of my negative experiences with people in the past. So that was quite significant for me in terms of how my trajectory, I guess, because as soon as the next day after that experience, I work in customer service, and in a coffee shop, your interactions are quite, lengthy. You have a full-on conversation, but in my job, it's quite, you know, fleeting. You say, "Hey, how are you?" and you scan all the stuff, put in the bag, next person, and it's just a small window of time to try to connect to someone else, and you got that multiple times a day, so it's quite draining. And but it was just this perspective shift for me, where it was like, even though it's so fleeting, there's still things that I could do to just make an effort. And I do have regulars, as much as you could say that I work in a grocery store, so if I can stop moving. Um, yeah, I guess since I've had that experience, I've kind of made that extra effort now to try to just bring down my own walls and move beyond it's not even my comfort zone. I consider myself an extrovert. Like, I'm able to do it. It's just not in a work environment, because I'm the kind of person that really gets focused on their work. But yeah, it's been interesting, trying to kind of give myself to the world more freely in this weird sense. That's been important. That's a big shift for me. I've also made some general life progress in terms of I finally got my driver's license, which was cool. Um, I I'm not sure. I think I might have mentioned that I wanted to go back to uni in a past episode. If not, I want to say it again. I had an epiphany, and a while ago, about where I wanted to be in the future, because I did go to uni for psychology and I did drop out. I remember talking about this, and Jesus, um, you know, there's another thing I learned about myself actually. I was quite, in this whole isolation phase I had over the last 2 weeks. Um, I was reconnecting with people in my life that haven't fucked me over, but I haven't quite given the time to, because of my walls, and just like the lack of, what's the point, all this shit, and like the lack of energy that I want to give to people because of all that crap. Anyway, reconnecting with people, and particularly one person actually sent, might be a controversial topic, but I try to be as open-minded about any kind of world orienting perspectives slash viewpoints, which is basically, I don't immediately dismiss things like religion. I don't immediately dismiss things like, uh, I'm not going to say supernatural, because I consider that inferior thinking, but I would say things like pseudoscience, perhaps, like astrology, numerology, all that crap. And this person that I'm friends with is interested in this. And I would say that I do not believe in that. I'm open to it. So discussing that with her, she is aware of my, like, I've investigated fairly intensely my astrological my natal birth chart, all that stuff, and she's aware of my chart as well. And she sent me this. She's reading this book, and she sends me this chapter about this concept called the North Node, and we share the same North Node. So I'm talking about my issues and stuff, and she says, "Oh, do you feel like this is true?" And the quote was, "Before I take action, criteria X, Y, and Z must be met." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel about everything. I can't do things without making sure that other things are done first. And the majority of the time, those other things are things that I probably can't do or would be very challenging to do. Like when I wanted to go to the Navy, I was making the excuse that I couldn't go to the Navy because I need to get my driver's license because in my brain, if I got my driver's license before I go to the Navy, where I live in Australia, you get your provisional license, which lasts a year and a half. I'd be in the Navy for 4 years. If I get my license first, I can get my full license by the time I get out, right? Logical in a sense, but I wasn't. It was like kind of hiding behind the fact that I need my driver's license to take any action in terms of the Navy, and that's just an example of one thing. But there are so many things. Like the Xbox is another one. I can't sell my Xbox because if I sell it, I won't have anything to do, despite the fact I will. Um, and I'll be bored and I won't have any fun or something like that. It's just this narrative I provide myself as an excuse. I'm aware of it as well, which is frustrating. And she's like, "Oh my, well, this is a criteria. This is a what's the word? Characteristic of someone with a North Node in Leo." And she sends me this chapter of this book completely dedicated to Leo North Nodes. And I understand that someone listening to this might find this completely boring, which I apologize for. But reading that, and I know this sounds stupid, but it just basically told me so many things about myself that I kind of intrinsically knew were true, but it's weird to read about. One of the most interesting things I find, like I've been to therapy before, and I don't think that therapy is, oh, you have a problem, here's a solution. It's more, here is an alternative perspective on your issue. And it's a reminder that it's not a you thing, it's just a thing that happens to people in general. And, knowing be like, oh, I'm not alone in this, in a sense, as cliche as that sounds, it's relieving and means that, you're not kind of like stranded in a way. So, reading that is kind of like, oh, okay, so other people have the same issues I do. They do offer solutions, or even just like different rationalizations of the issue itself, which kind of help me because it kind of sounds like, oh, it gives you more leeway of thinking in terms of, I don't know what I'm trying to say in this one, but anyway, reading that was very helpful, and it kind of led to me realizing that my issues were, the alternative perspective led to me finding my own personal solution, which it has. And, it's like the concept of mindfulness. So instead of just blindly being in my own issues and being ignorant of it, I'm aware of it. And every time I do it, I catch myself in it. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I stop. So it's not prevention, but more immediate treatment. And then sometimes, if I'm quick enough, I can prevent it. If I catch the thought before I say something, because I'm quite impulsive. So that was good and a relief. And it was very nice to talk to someone who could relate. And it was quite like big realization for me. I was like, sick. This is another thing that I'm kind of solving. Um, yeah. So anyway, the whole back to uni thing. It was. I was very cautious with the idea of going back after dropping out because, I got that student debt, and I didn't want to make the same mistake again where I go back straight back into uni, and then like, oh, this isn't for me, or I'm not mature enough to study, or whatever, and then drop out and then have another debt to pay. But you know, I thinking about it, I'm like, the degree I want to pursue is philosophy, because my passion is considering these alternative pathways, ideological pathways, or philosophical pathways throughout this experience that we consider life. And I really enjoy finding out, discovering intrinsic truths, and reading about how people's experiences and thoughts. Philosophers and stuff like Camus, psychologists like Jordan Peterson, um, reading about people's experiences with sexuality and um, death, and these concepts that we're ignorant of in the mainstream pathway through life. The materialistic side, and I've it's kind of culminated now in this decision where I'm like, okay, well, this is something I'm passionate about. I could easily pursue this, and the issue that I am forced to face, because unfortunately my father doesn't support me in this, but to be fair, I gave up my father's support a long time ago, so he understandably argues that there is no money to be made in the degree of philosophy, which, relevant, I agree, probably not. So what? I don't care. Frankly, like, I will not allow myself to live a life of like, oh man, I mean, I'm passionate about this thing, but it's not gonna make me any money, so why bother? And to be honest, I said to him, I said, look, I would be more than happy to live in a fucking hole in the ground as long as I'm doing this fucking degree. And that's true. I would be fine with that. And it kind of, but it's still in my brain. So I had this discussion with my mother about it, and she, thank God, fucking showed some support and convinced me to, I guess, follow my dreams, as cliche as that sounds. And I am. I'm going to do it. Starting semester 1 next year, 2021, I will be, hopefully, if my application is approved, studying philosophy. And, it's not so much of, I want to do this degree and have an end goal in mind. For me, I'm passionate about X, being philosophy. Let's see what I can do with that. Because I've, the last 2 years, just been paralyzed by the fear of just, what if I do something that's the wrong decision, blah, 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 blah. Oh my God, fears, worries, anxieties. I'm kind of over it. I just want to fucking do something with my life now. I've had fun. The whole reason I dropped out last time was like, well, I was 18. I just learned how to drink. I just learned how to do drugs. I learned how to meet people. And that was so time consuming. I had no time to study. So I just lost my interest. And now I'm so over that, you know, I'm just ready to make something of myself. And that doesn't necessarily mean the materialistic side, where I would rather, I mean, if anything, if I had to pick a career that come out of philosophy, it would probably be academia. I would love to either study or just discuss this with people. Maybe like something like this. I would love to have a philosophical podcast, of talk about ideas of surrounding proper, like, morality, ethics, um, just decision making that we make, and like the progress of human civilization, and where we're going, where we've been, and what we're doing now, and what we've done in the past, and to just explore ideas with people who are also passionate or interested, at least, in exploring ideas. Stop it, phone. um, because unfortunately, I don't have many people in my life that are interested in these kind of conversations, or even sorry, have their own ideas that are contrary to the mainstream beliefs, like my father's follows or whatever. So I think that if I were to go back and study, I'd hopefully meet people that also share this interest, and potentially have some guests for this, whatever this thing is, and have some discussions that might enlighten me and other people who might be interested in listening, which is a bit of a dream for me. I'm looking forward to it. I want to bring people in, buy a microphone besides this stupid headset, and buy 2 microphones even, and have a desk and cameras and sit down and just talk about ideas surrounding this existence and what we do with it. You know, I've got all these questions I want to know the answers to, just out of curiosity, because I'm so fucking curious about everything. You know, like I've friends that from all different walks of life that I imagine would have so many interesting things to say and stories to share. You know, and hopefully now that I've got my driver's license, I will be able to conjure up and manifest in this world some experiences and stories I can share here myself. Do some traveling. Well, I mean, it's a horrible time for traveling, but I mean, internally, where I live in Australia, especially Western Australia, this whole coronavirus thing is not nowhere near as bad as the rest of the world. You know, we're fucking everything's back to normal for us, and I am more than happy to take this shitty car and just travel this part of the country, get some experiences, meet some cool people in some country towns, maybe learn some things like surfing. Imagine if I learned how to surf, that'd be sick. Or maybe people who live in communities that are super tight knit or whatever. I don't know, but you know, get out there and experience this fucking planet. Okay, well, what else do I want to talk about? Philosophy. Um, what else has been going on? You know. Well, yeah. Okay, so with all of these developments that have recently come into my life, I've kind of realized, almost on accident, really, that you know, with the solution, I'm going to say it's a solution because I feel like those issues that I was previously discussing have kind of been fixed or corrected with those resolutions and sorry, with those discoveries about myself. I Jesus, I don't have anything glaring, any glaring, you know, stand out. This needs to be rectified issues in my life right now. You know, I'm kind of pretty damn cruisy. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, which is really nice for me because since I was extremely young, I've apologies. I'm gonna quickly apologies. There we go. That's better. I'm I I don't have any glaring issues right now, so I feel like now is the optimal time for me to start putting my energy into other people because I don't need to put so much energy into my own self. I'm in the best shape I've ever been. I've been I'm rapidly approaching my dream physique that I've aspired to since I was probably about 12, 13. Currently, I weigh between 83 and 86 kilos. I did eat a shit ton of food last night, so I'm pretty bloated. Um, and, you know, I go to the gym every day because I believe that that is my human role. I don't know why I keep explaining things like that, but I, that, 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 what else is going on? Yeah, all these mental issues that I've had since my traumatic experiences when I was 15 kind of been dealt with and controlled. And now I feel like I have breathing space in my own body, which is very a really unusual experience for me. I'm always riddled with my own insecurities and stuff, but now it's like finally I've reached this point of like control and clarity over my own self that I can kind of operate more freely. And there's still progress to be made. There's always progress to be made, but it's like I've cleaned the room of my brain. You know, I finally made the bed and picked up all the loose clothes off the floor, put them in the washing basket. I've vacuumed the carpet, and I've opened the blinds, and the sun's coming in, and everything is kind of looking good, as I could say, and that there is potential in that. Like the expression goes, you can't love someone before you love yourself. And it's very hard to love yourself when you've got all these glaring problems because, like, how can I love someone that has all these issues that I don't love? Which I guess is something to learn. But for me to finally be able to have those be corrected, I feel like I have so much more energy to provide to the world now. And I find that to be something so important that I was missing for so long, kind of retreating from the world for so long. And now finally I'm able to just take a deep breath and start. I finished working on myself, which means I'm not finished, but like I'm moving on to the next stage where I can start working on the people around me, which is very important because the people around me right now do need work. Put it that way. I need to reevaluate. I've been reevaluating, and I need to start reconstructing these friendships and diving deeper. Like my as silly as it sounds, my New Year's resolution for this year was to make deeper connections with people, to manufacture these deeper connections and finally feel the sense of attachment that I've been missing for so long. And, given the challenges of this year, it's been on the back burner, but really, I have been trying. And despite all the shit that has happened, like utter shit between myself and the people around me, there are other people that I know that deserve more of me than I have been giving. And to be aware of that now, well, I always was aware of it, but I just wasn't in a place to be able to provide, to be finally in this place where I can see these people and see that they deserve so much more than what I've been providing, and finally be able to actually make those decisions to provide and to in reality to expose myself, because I wouldn't provide because I was fearful and insecure. I still am, but I know how to deal with it. But to take that risk and put yourself out there, making progress that way. And I'm fucking blabbering again, but I apologize. This doesn't make sense, but for me, oh god, this is uncomfortable. All right, let me just summarize. I feel like I now have the ability to make further progress with these relationships in my life. Especially the more meaningful ones, like the people that have, first of all, I've known for a long time that still to this day have not